From the creepy swamps deep in the heart of Cajun country, I welcome you to Fave Five From Fans, the podcast where I, Jamie Ray, your humble host, invite a friend of mine to create a list of 5 of their favorite things that we have a shared interest in, be it movies, books, TVs, toys, or really whatever. Our own unique Venn diagram of topics near and dear to our hearts. We then sit down across from each other or on Zoom to compare and contrast, dissect, and disseminate our choices for you, the listening audience. We'll start off with honorable mentions, those selections that didn't quite make the Fave 5 for good reasons or bad. And then we'll take turns unveiling our choices backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You'll hear us discussing everything from alien invasions to zombie attacks, Rom the Space Knight to Chuck Norris, Edgar Allan Poe to Stephen King, both literature and film adaptations. All that's left is for you to decide who's right, who's wrong, and will we still be friends after all this? I can't wait to get started, so please sit back, strap in, and get ready for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. Greetings and felicitations, podcast universe. Still not quite sure about that one. We'll see. So thrilled to be bringing you another episode of Fave 5 From Fans. Today's topic is going to revolve around the films of an American martial artist, actor, film producer, writer, and screenwriter, Carlos Ray Norris, or as you know him, Chuck Norris. And to discuss that, I've invited my bud from across the bayou, Patrick Sean Bennett. Welcome back to the Plastic Microphone Studio, Pat. How you doing?
Doing good, Jamie. Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. How's your P-Row today?
My P-Row got a hole in it. Done sank.
Oh, Miss Shad, that's too bad.
I'm swimming for the show.
Oh, you've got to stay away from them gators. Because everybody who watches TV knows that everyone in Louisiana rides a P-Row to work and has a pet alligator.
That's right.
So, hey, listen. Before we get started, I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to go straight to a top 5, but not Chuck Norris films, but my Fave 5 Chuck Norris jokes. All right, you ready for this?
Go ahead.
Number 5, there is no chin behind Chuck Norris's beard. There is only another fist.
Nice.
Number 4, the quickest way to a man's heart is with Chuck Norris's fist. Freddy Krueger has nightmares about Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris's belly button is actually a 110 power outlet. And my number 1 Fave 5 Chuck Norris joke, the dinosaurs looked at Chuck Norris the wrong way once, and we all know how that ended.
Now, I guess here's my favorite one, though.
Oh, you got to say
Yeah, here's my favorite one.
Yeah.
They wanted to put Chuck Norris's face on Mount Rushmore, but the granite wasn't hard enough for his beard.
Yes! Guys, let's hear it for Chuck Norris.
Nice.
So, man, what's been going on? How are things there?
Things are awesome, man. I've been watching a lot of Chuck Norris movies.
Yeah, me too. You've been watching some serials too, huh?
Yeah, a lot of good serials. We got a serial show we're doing now, a little talk show.
Uh-huh.
It's on YouTube, and it's called Cliffhangers, the Serial Talk Show. And I do it with my friend Kendall Fontenot.
Yeah, Kendall's
And
been a good friend.
We put on the Calcasieu Cereal Fest every year, too.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got about 5 episodes out now, and they're actually getting people watching them. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. You find that on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, cereal. So, Captain Crunchberries was always my favorite cereal. But that's not what we're talking about. You're talking about the old Saturday morning at the movie cereals, right? The ones that we would watch. At the movie theaters.
The old cliffhanger cereals. Some people call them chapter plays.
Yeah. There's a couple of them that that just really kind of peeved me off because you would see the truck go over the side, over the cliff, and the hero was still strapped inside. And then the next week you'd come back and they show the footage and he jumps out before it goes over the cliff. And you're like, I was here last week and it didn't do that.
Yeah.
But there's still some
I know
great
exactly
ones.
what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Not just the normal ones like Captain Cody and Radar Men, but you've had Captain America and Superman and Shazam and Batman.
Right. This is where all the comic heroes and comic strip heroes got their start in film.
Yeah, that's some great stuff.
Some of the first appearances there.
Yeah, so any of my 5 listeners out there, if you want to see a good YouTube episode, go and check them out. Well, great. Well, listen, we are going to be talking today about the films of Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, who is 80 years old this year.
That's crazy, man.
That is crazy. You know, he has done so much in his life, served in the Air Force as SP officer, won many, many martial arts championships, founded his own discipline, Chuck Kudo. He's also a black belt in Tang Soo Do, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Judo. And, of course, he was brought into the world of Hollywood. First of all, he has a small role in a spy film called The Wrecking Crew in 1969. And then his friend Bruce Lee asked him to come in and be one of the villains on Way of the Dragon, or as we called it here in the U.S., Return of the Dragon. And after that, he wasn't quite sure about what he was going to do. And his buddy Steve McQueen told him, hey, you know, give it another shot. You could do something here. Took on a starring role in Breaker Breaker in 1977, and he actually made profit. And that led to Good Guys Wear Black, and he's been nonstop ever since. So I have asked Patrick to make a list of his favorite Chuck Norris movies. And I'm wondering if do you have an honorable mention?
I do have 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
But I also have 2 that I just want to say the titles of that are below my honorable mentions.
Your honorable mentions. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these, I don't want to talk about these. I just want to say the names of them.
Okay.
And it's Firewalker and it's The Octagon.
Okay.
And I'm just the only thing I want to say. Yeah. These 2 movies I wanted to love so much, you know. I wanted to love these 2 so much because one's like an Indiana Jones type adventure and the other one's a ninja movie. And I wanted to love these so much, Jamie, but like you're saying, you know what I'm talking about. There's some problems with them.
Yes. And I didn't even rewatch Firewalker. I remember watching it back in the day, and I knew there was no reason to watch it. I did try to give Octagon another watch. Sunday night, I started it, and oh my gosh, I love you, Chuck Norris, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not, but I love you, Chuck Norris. But that movie, I couldn't even finish it. I
don't hate the movie.
No, I don't hate any of his movies.
Once a year, once every other year or something, I'll watch it. I do have it in my library, but it annoys the heck out of me.
Yeah, that whole talking over himself.
Right.
And it's not just in his mind, it's that I want to know. No.
Yeah.
And literally half the time I couldn't figure out what he was saying.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm with you there. I'm with you. Okay. So we've said their name. We don't have to discuss them now, but let's hear your 2 honorable mentions.
Okay. Now this is going to shock you because it's an honorable mention. Okay. Missing in Action, 1984.
Vietnam, 1984. Chuck Norris is James Braddock. Decorated war hero, ex-prisoner of war, an American on a mission. One man who couldn't forget the Americans that were left behind.
We categorically deny that there are any living MIA Vietnam.
Wrong answer.
James Braddock has returned. To uncover the truth and free the soldiers.
We're going home?
Missing in action.
Damn right.
James Braddock declares war. The war isn't over until the last man comes home. America had no more heroes. Until now. Chuck Norris, missing in action.
You're actually not shocking me that much.
I mean, I love this movie. I saw it at the theater. Loved it. I've seen it probably 30 times, and I still watch it a lot. But there's some I like more.
Yeah.
That's why it's an honorable mention.
But, man, any movie where you put a rat in a bag and put it on a man's head, that's a good movie.
Well, wait a minute, though. That's the other movie. That's Missing in Action 2.
Oh, God, how could I make that mistake?
But you could actually call it one movie because they filmed them at the same time.
Yeah, I heard that.
And they actually intended Missing in Action 2 to be the first one, but they thought that this one was a better film, so they switched the order that they released them.
That makes sense, but I did like the way that it came out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good.
So anyway, I'm calling that one a honorable mention, and this was the first film with him at the Canon Group, which Chuck made the Canon Group a lot of money. Yeah, and they pretty much launched him into major stardom.
Yes, sir. So wow, that's an honorable mention. This is going to be a good list.
All right.
What's your other honorable mention?
All right, now this one might shock you too because it's a great movie. I loved it. Code of Silence from 1985.
Eddie Cusack is a good cop. Having a bad day.
My brothers, I promise you, blood for blood.
With a murder to solve.
I want this guy Cusack. I want to know what he is, what he's doing, where he lives. I want him.
Squad, this is 1462. I need backup.
Hey, you don't want to be in here.
I want your opinion. I'll beat it out of you.
A mob war to stop.
Take him apart.
Where's Cusack?
He's saving the world.
Chuck Norris. Code of Silence. The toughest cop in the world just got tougher. Chuck Norris. Code of Silence.
That is my cat Gray's favorite Chuck Norris film. When I sat down to watch it for this show, she jumped up on, I have in the studio here, the plastic microphone studio here, I have a tabletop with a couple of monitors going. And she sat right in front of the monitor and watched probably 45 minutes of that film. I took a couple of pictures, as a matter of fact, to put it on Twitter.
I'll tell you, man, Code of Silence, I saw it in a theater, and dude, that's the one that has the robot in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically Chuck Norris going up against all the cops in the precinct in Chicago because he's trying to take down a dirty cop. And, you know, they've got that code of silence, the brotherhood of cops. And you're not supposed to do that, but he went up against them. And I'll tell you something. It's got that great one-liner in there when he tells that guy, when I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
Yeah, when he's in the bar.
Yeah. Hey, this is something very interesting. I don't know if you knew this, but Code of Silence, the script was actually written as a Dirty Harry movie.
Really?
It was going to be called Dirty Harry Code of Silence.
I could see that.
Someone else submitted the script of Sudden Impact, and the studio shelved Code of Silence and went with Sudden Impact instead. Mm-hmm. So the Canon Group, they paid like $600,000 to get the rights to Code of Silence. Wow. And they changed it up and made it a vehicle for Chuck Norris.
You know, that you talked about earlier, that robot, that whole thing just did not go with Chuck Norris. I don't understand. I know why they did it, but oh man, it was just weird. Well, those are some pretty good ones. I'm kind of wondering about mine, but let's see how mine compare to yours. The first honorable mention that I have is going to be from 1979.
A force of one. His next shot has to be his best shot because he doesn't get another chance. To stop the killer, he has to think like a killer, only faster. He's the only one who can stop the killing. Chuck Norris, Jennifer O'Neill, A Force of One, rated PG.
Directed by Paul Aaron, and it's when a team of undercover narcotics officers are targeted by killer, and the police need some help because the killer obviously has some knowledge and use of karate. So they contact Matt Logan, who is a top martial artist, to train their officers. And then it's up to them to figure out who is doing the killing and how they can stop it. I guess, should I even ask you, have you seen every Chuck Norris movie?
I believe I have.
Okay. Well, I won't ask you if you've seen this one, but you know the one I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This was a pretty good movie. I did enjoy it, but I thought it was kind of weird the way that he's not working with them very long before, they're doing all the kind of martial arts kind of stuff. And it just didn't sit with me. Right. But I did enjoy it. Probably one of my favorite performances was that of Jennifer O'Neill,
right?
Who played Mandy Rust. Beautiful woman. She was in Scanners from 1981. She was one of the leads in that movie. She played Kim something. So when I was watching this, I was like, oh, my God, I know her right away. But I did enjoy it, but it's going to have to stay in the honorable mentions. My honorable mention number 1, I wasn't going to put it on the list because I really wanted to stay with this being Chuck Norris movies. But you can't go without talking about 1972's Return of the Dragon. He's only in it for a little bit. He plays a martial artist named Colt, who has been brought in as one of 2 fighters to ambush and try to take down Bruce Lee's character, Tang. And there's this great fight. I believe it was like in a coliseum, and they're trading blows back and forth. Tang eventually overcomes and kills Chuck Norris, but he's very respectful about it afterwards. He takes his gi and his belt and puts it all back together, puts it on top of him and stuff. And it was a good scene as part of a great movie, but I think it was really the time that people looked at him and said, man, that guy knows his stuff. So anyway, Return of the Dragon, honorable mention. What do you think about that?
Nice, yeah. I remember that one.
All right. So let's go straight into the meat, go straight for the jugular. Let's start off with your number 5.
All right. Hey, let me make a quick note here.
Okay.
What I miss about movies in the 80s, and especially Chuck Norris movies, are these vintage 80s weapons you'll see throughout all of them. My favorite has always been the Uzi.
Right.
And he used that a lot in his movies, and he also used the Mac 10s or the Mac 11 machine pistols.
Right.
And what's really cool is when you see one of those with a silencer on it, and those show up in his movies. Yeah. And then, of course, the Law rocket launchers, the tubes that you open up and shoot a rocket out of.
I know the one you're talking about.
And then the M60s, and just the plain old M16 with the M203 grenade launchers under the carriage. All these weapons, man, they're just everywhere in the Chuck Norris movies.
Yes,
and I miss that.
He loved those.
Yeah, but you can't go wrong with a good Uzi in your hands. All right.
Well, let's hear your number 5.
All right, my number 5 is from 1982, and this is Silent Rage.
Columbia Pictures presents Chuck Norris.
Hot damn fighters! You call the police?
Not me, boss.
Nobody call the police. You must be a mirage.
The master fighter of our time. But not even he could imagine the power of the indestructible man he is about to face. A creation of science whose only thought is to survive.
Thank you, senor.
The unstoppable terror of Silent Rage. Now, Chuck Norris must destroy him.
Dan, watch out!
In a final battle to the death, and beyond. Silent Rage.
And I really love this film.
Yeah, I know. I love that movie. As a matter of fact, it made my number 2.
Oh, boy.
Yes, sir. I love that movie.
I liked it a lot. You know, he plays a sheriff in a small Texas town, and his little comic relief guy is Flounder from Animal House.
Stephen First.
Yeah, and he was on Babylon 5. I can't remember the character's name, but
right.
He played one of the alien ambassadors there.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, he's very simple, just kind of dumb, fat cop, fat deputy.
Oh, he was so lovable, though.
Yeah, he was just a goofy, lovable guy. Yeah. And also Ron Silver co-starred in. He's a great actor, man. I love Ron Silver.
Yeah, he did a great job in that one.
Now, I'll tell you something that I didn't know, and I have never heard of this, but I saw it on something I looked up. The film was remade. They used the same script in 2009.
I just saw that.
Indestructible. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I remember looking that up too. I think it was remade in like 2009. There's a trailer, I think, on IMDb, and you can buy it on Amazon, like on, I don't know, DVD, I believe. I'd be interested to see that. It's a Dark Knight Films production of a Matt Speece film. But I couldn't imagine it being better than Chuck Norris, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to want to talk about that a little bit more when we get to number 2. There were some cool things in that movie. Real quick though, so you remember the killer, John Kirby,
right?
Okay, so that actor's name is Brian Libby.
Wasn't he a stuntman?
I'm not sure, but next time you watch The Octagon.
Oh, he is.
He's in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I watched it Sunday, because he's a tall dude.
Right.
And man, when he jumps out of the back of that trailer, I'm like, oh my God, it's John Kirby. Watch out. He's going to kill all the ninjas. Oh, all right. Well, number 5, it's a movie that I used to always mess up and confuse with Code of Silence. And I'm talking about 1981's An Eye for an Eye.
White Lightning is back. The non-stop excitement that created a legend continues. Martial arts superstar Chuck Norris in An Eye for an Eye.
It's a bigger operation than I ever even imagined.
You need protection.
Your undercover operation was the best-kept secret this narcotics bureau has ever had. So tell me something, my friend. Where was the leak?
We were set up.
Linda was very special to me. Very special.
Her death was an execution. How do I defend a man like you?
I'll save you the trouble.
I understand that since you left the force, you no longer carry a weapon.
He is a weapon.
Chuck Norris at his biggest.
In the combats I have witnessed, your form has been impossibly cruel.
Well, I get a little nervous when someone's trying to kill me.
Chuck Norris at his baddest. Chuck Norris in his most explosive film yet.
Try me. Oh, boy.
White Lightning is back. Martial arts superstar Chuck Norris in An Eye for an Eye.
Oh, great movie.
Great movie. Directed by Steve Carver, who also directed The Arena and Big Bad Mama, both New World movies produced by Roger Corman. Shout out to the New World podcast, pulling that one off the Bro Dome.
Is this Ryan's research corner?
No, not yet.
Is this off the Dome?
Yes.
Damn, Dome.
But rewatching that movie, I was so amazed when Christopher Lee walked onto the screen. And I was like, wait, holy crap, Dracula's in this movie. But there were a lot of really great scenes in this. Great actors. I mean, you got Mako playing James Chan, Terry Kaiser, Rosalind Chow. So, and then of course Richard Roundtree, who until the very end, and I'll tell you, even when the credits rolled, I wasn't sure if he was a good guy or a bad guy.
Shut your mouth.
I know.
I'm just talking about Shaft.
But a good movie, all about an undercover narcotics officer whose partner is killed after being set up by, you remember the informant's name?
No.
Tony Montoya. And so his officer gets shot, hit by a car, and burned to death right in front of him. When he comes back in, Richard Roundtree's his captain. Captain just gives him all kinds of crap. Like he doesn't trust him, or he thinks he might be an informant or a bad cop. So he quits. He leaves the force, gives him his badge, his gun, and his leaves. And then he tries to figure out who the bad guy in the film is. They're bringing in narcotics in a neat way, little in firecrackers. At one point, he goes to the cargo hold of the ship where all the narcotics are being held, the Sulu Sea, which I thought was really kind of, hey, Captain Sulu, you know. But anyway, so you go through the movie, and Mako is the father of his partner's wife, who is also killed because she's a reporter and she's figured something out. So Chuck and Mako, they're out there trying to get to the end of it. And lo and behold, it ends up being someone who you didn't really expect. You know, I sure didn't see it coming. I thought that was pretty cool for a movie. And a lot of them have MAC-10s.
Oh, yeah.
There's a great scene at the end where the police show up with the bad guy.
Yep.
Yeah, and M16s too. And 45s. Colt 45s, you know, silver. So good movie. God, loved the car in it too. 1973 Pontiac Trans Am. Good film. All right. Well, I think now we'll go to your number 4 movie.
Hey, let me tell you a quick thing here about Eye for an Eye.
Yeah.
I remember, when I was in, the early 80s, junior high school and then on into high school. Remember the TV Guide?
Yeah.
I used to get it weekly. I would get that every when it came out. I would get it, and I would go in my bedroom, and I would read that thing cover to cover. I'm not talking about the articles. I'm talking about the schedule. And I'd take me a pen, and I would circle everything I was going to watch that week. Now, look, some Chuck Norris movies were on USA, but they would come on during the day. So I would play hooky. I would be sick that day, and they might have a Chuck Norris marathon. They might show 3 movies on USA that day. But it was always like they had hosts, and they were selling siding. So they would take a 2-hour movie and turn it into 3 hours because they kept having – you remember those? They'd have a break, and they would try to talk about their siding and stuff, the vinyl siding. But I would stay home, play sick, and, man, I would fix me some pizza, some Tony's pizzas in the oven.
99
nachos.
Cents.
Yep. And I fixed some nachos, and I would watch movies like An Eye for an Eye and Good Guys Wear Black. And what was the one where he was a truck driver? I hope that's not on your list.
Breaker.
Yeah, Breaker. Wasn't that one like his very first solo films or something?
I think it was the movie. He made that movie in 1977 when Steve McQueen told him to give that acting a little bit more of a try. And when he made money on that movie, then I think it kicked him off. That was 1977. So 1978 he did Good Guys Wear Black.
But yeah, I would play hooky and watch all those movies until we got our first VCR, and then I could set the timer and record it while I was at school. You know,
you had no excuse to skip, huh?
No excuse. But yeah, I love me some Chuck Norris, man.
Yeah. Well, if you love him so much, what's your number 4?
Chuck Norris movies are kind of hard for me to put in an order. You know.
Oh, I hear you.
Because some I like just as much as the other, but you're making me list them here.
You must make a list.
So I'm going to go with in 86, he put out the Delta Force.
This is a hijack and south.
When there is no hope, no chance, no possibility of escape, Delta Force gets the word.
It's a go. Take them down.
They're not after adventure or glory. They're fighting to save American lives.
No! You take one of us, you gotta take us all.
Chuck Norris, Lee Marvin. The Delta Force, rated R. Starts Friday, February 14th at theaters everywhere.
Yep, Major Scott McCoy.
And dude, this movie was loaded with actors. I mean, you had Lee Marvin, man. What a great team up, Chuck Norris and Lee Marvin. But also you had Robert Vaughn. you had old Steve James, who played in a lot of 80s action movies. They usually teamed him up with Michael Dudikoff. You had uncredited Liam Neeson was one of the Delta Force.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Robert Forster, you know, from The Black Hole and from Jackie Brown.
I do.
I think he just died here a couple of years ago.
He did.
Bo Stevenson that played Walking Tall on the TV series.
As the captain.
He was the pilot of the plane there. You had Shelley Winters, you had George Kennedy, you had Kim Delaney. I mean, it was all action packed, you know, star-studded action-packed film.
Yeah.
And it was kind of loosely based on some actual happenings. You remember all this in the news?
Right.
When it went down?
Oh,
there was kind of a big fiasco happened where some of our helicopters collided and blew up in that when we were trying to rescue these hostages that, where were they, in Iran?
Right. It was loosely based on the Flight 847 hijacking and what they called Operation Entebbe, which took place in 1985.
Right.
So as a matter of fact, do you remember the blonde-haired German character that was Ingrid Harding, the one who had the passports and she didn't want to tell them?
Yes.
Yeah. So that woman was actually a real person, and pretty much exactly the way that they did it in the movie is what she did in real life. The character was based on a woman named Uli Deckerson, and I read a story about her afterwards that it's one of those damned if you do and damned if you don't. When the movie came out and the experiences actually showed up, there were all of these people who were mad at her because she ended up giving, you know, having to call out the people who were Jewish descent. You know, and basically they were going to kill her if she didn't. And so everybody got all pissed off at her, you know, and she got like death threats. Well, then the story came out where she didn't want to do it, and she actually hid some of them or didn't give them all out. Well, then the other group got pissed off at her. And, you know, it's like, come on, you know, which one did you want me to do? But they actually gave her a Silver Cross of Valor for that.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then you know who played her? They had another movie called The Taking of Flight 847. You know who played her in that movie?
Who?
The Bionic Woman herself.
Really?
Lindsay Wagner. Yes, sir.
Miss Wagner. Cool.
Cool. But
so is Delta Force on your list?
No, sir, it is not.
Okay.
And I have to say that I did enjoy the movie. And God, this is going to sound so bad, but Chuck Norris just Chuck Norris that movie too much for me. You know, I mean, for what he would normally do, like most of the other people were all pretty much straightforward, you know, Delta Force guys. But I mean, he was the lone wolf. He was always doing the one-liners and stuff like that. And it felt like he had one script and every other person had the other script. You know, now I enjoy the movie. I mean, I want to say I went back and watched Delta Force 2, where I think he got a promotion to colonel in that movie. But no, it just didn't make my list.
Well, I'll tell you, the person that shined for me in this film was Robert Forster.
Yes.
Man, it took me a couple of years before I figured out that was him playing that bad guy, you know, the terrorist.
He did a great job.
Yeah. I mean, he looked that nationality and everything, you know, the way they had him made up. It blew my mind when I finally realized it was him.
I know, right?
My jaw just dropped to the ground.
Hey, I saw him in Black Hole.
Yeah. But I thought he did a great job in it.
Yeah,
I love the motorcycle that Chuck had.
Oh yeah, man, that was a Mega Force motorcycle.
They went all Mega Force on it. Yeah.
For the longest time, I would, even though I know it's crazy to say it, I would sometimes confuse those movies because of those motorcycles. And then it was cool though, where they'd go silent and the headlights and everything would be blue. That was some cool stuff for a 12, 13-year-old. All right, well, that's great. Well, I think I will counter your number 4 with my own number 4 with a movie that we've already mentioned, 1978's Good Guys Wear Black.
In Return of the Dragon, you saw him fight to the death with Bruce Lee. Now you can see him in real action. 6-time world champion Chuck Norris. Why is everyone trying to kill this man? What terrible secret does he know? Good Guys Wear Black. Starring Chuck Norris, Ann Archer, James Franciscus, Dana Andrews, Lloyd Haynes. NBC, Good Guys Wear Black.
At a cinema near you.
Another star-studded movie all about U.S. Senator Conrad Morgan, played by James Franciscus, who was trying to negotiate with the North Vietnamese, and they're making up, I don't know, the Paris Accord deals or whatever it was called at that time. But they want an exchange of prisoners, and basically the Vietnamese say, oh, we don't have any more POWs. And you've got our Major John T. Booker, played by Chuck Norris, who was part of an elite team called the Black Tigers, who were a group that at the very end had gone in to take some POWs out, and they had been set up. And now, one by one, they're being killed off. And Booker has to figure out what's going on and who's doing the killing. All the while, you've got this whole thing going on in the background, and he's met by this mysterious woman, Ann Archer, who is playing a character named Margaret, just absolutely beautiful. And so one by one, the people are getting killed off, and he gets closer and closer to finding out who is doing it. And it's got this classic scene, and you know the one I'm talking about. He goes and takes her to the airport, and then when he's leaving, the bad guy shows up, and they have a big fight, and the guy tries to take off in his car and then wants to run Chuck Norris down, and he jumps up and goes through the windshield with that amazing kick that he would do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Beautiful scene.
Oh, it's a great scene. I watched it. Even watching the movie, I rewatched it like 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. Just such, and the poster for this one was so cool because he's got those mirrored sunglasses on, and you see him jumping through it. Oh yeah, man. Cool stuff. Yeah. So that's going to be mine. A couple little pieces of trivia about this movie. It was originally rated R, but Chuck went and lobbied and successfully to have it changed to PG. And quote, my arguments was the strong positive image I project on the screen. The word karate, unfortunately, connotates violence to many people. Actually, it's a means of avoiding violent situations and a form of defense if you have no choice and are backed into a corner. And then Ted Post, the director of this movie, which, by the way, this movie had a budget of $1 million, brought in $18 million. But Ted also directed Beneath the Planet of the Apes and switched over and did Magnum Force with Dirty Hair.
What wasn't Francis, how'd you say his name?
Yeah, James Franciscus.
He was in Planet of the Apes also,
yes,
right?
He was. James Franciscus, a handsome man, if there ever was one, was in quite a few movies. Do you remember The Concord Affair?
Yes.
Yeah, he was in that one. He was not a very nice guy. And he was in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. He played Brent. Yeah, he was also in Marooned. Do you remember that movie where the astronauts are left out in space? Yeah, that was a good one. All right, well, good. Well, that's a great movie. You got anything else you want to throw down about that?
No, it's just that's one of them I skipped school to watch.
I love the ending for that movie. The way that he basically just walks away from the trouble in a big way. And of course, you've got a couple of cool little cameos. You've got Dana Andrews playing Edgar Harold's, and then Thurston Howell III himself, Jim Backus, playing
Mr. Magoo.
Mr. Magoo, playing Albert the Doorman. So, all right, well, great. Well, I think, if I'm ciphering correctly, we're down to your number 3 favorite Chuck Norris film.
All right. Well, this connects to my honorable mention.
Ooh.
I want to say Missing in Action 2, The Beginning.
Chuck Norris returns in Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. American MIAs imprisoned and tortured. He's a soldier they couldn't hold.
None of you have ever escaped, and none of you will.
We're going in.
He's breaking out, leading his men, and fighting back. An American hero story continues. Chuck Norris, Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. Opens Friday, March 1st at a theater near you.
And I know these were shot together, almost like one giant movie, and then cut in half and released as 2 movies. And you only had to wait a few months to see the other one after they released one.
Yeah.
But I like this one better because this one was all about his experience as a POW.
Uh-huh.
And thought that was pretty cool.
And so
Colonel
this is
James
the one.
Braddock.
This is the one where he gets the rat in the bag. And
this is the rat in the bag. And hey,
okay.
I don't know if you read about this, but they didn't have a fake rat.
No.
Chuck Norris told him to kill a rat, and he would put the actual rat in his mouth.
Damn, Chuck Norris is the man.
And they put a lot of fake blood on him, but that was a real rat he had in his mouth.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No, I sure didn't know that.
But, man, this was a great movie to me. Just the whole opening parts and everything where it introduces each character as they're jumping out of the helicopter into the lake while it's going down. And, you remember that, how they freeze the character when they're jumping? And it'd be like a typewriter. It'd say their name. And
it was like an 80s episode of the A-Team.
The A-Team, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, when you first see Chuck Norris in this movie, in the opening, he comes walking out of that hangar to go get on the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got on that cool cavalry hat, and he's got the sunglasses.
Yeah.
He just looks awesome, man. And he gets on there, and they're like, "Hello, Colonel," and they're talking. But anyway, when they get shot down or whatever, everybody jumps, and he's the last one out. Freezes his picture, and Colonel James Braddock. And it's like a big stamp. MIA, Michigan action.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, just the opening, man, is already awesome, And then now I get to watch a movie too. There's more. That wasn't it. I would have been satisfied with just the opening scene. But yeah, I thought it was a great movie.
So I'm surprised that you say this one, because earlier you said that most people think the first one is better than the second one.
They thought it was better.
The second one?
I do.
Uh-huh.
I like it a lot better. I think it's cool because there was a lot more of the POW story.
Yeah, it was cool. And then Soon Tek Oh, who played the Colonel, man, that dude, he was in a lot of stuff. Airwolf, Charlie's Angels, Magnum P.I., Touched by an Angel, MacGyver, MASH.
Great character actor.
Oh, man, he sure was. Wow. All right, well, that's a good one. Well, I guess then my number 3 better be a pretty strong film. And lucky for you, it is. I'm talking about Invasion USA.
That was my next one. That's my number 2.
Can I put the star up this year? Time for dinner.
No one thought it could ever happen here. They are an army of international terrorists.
America has not been invaded by a foreign enemy in nearly 200 years.
Their target, America. Their objective, control.
18 hours from now, America will be a different place.
Now, only one thing stands in their way.
It's time to die.
Didn't work, huh? Now it will.
They wanted a war.
See you in hell.
He gave them one.
Send me a postcard.
Chuck Norris. Invasion USA.
Wow, so this is just, I love this movie so much. It's got so much in it. Of course, like you said, it's got the M72 law that he uses at the end.
It's got the MAC-10, the dual MAC-10.
The dual MAC-10 hanging, yeah.
Wasn't that so cool? He doesn't have one MAC-10. He's got 2 MAC-10s. Would that be like a MAC-20?
Yeah. Man, and it's got such a great villain in Richard Lynch.
Richard Lynch, yeah.
Oh,
and also Billy Drago was in it.
Yes, it's Mickey. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say him next because some cool guys, you know.
Dude, even the poster for this movie with the dual MAC-10s, that is like, and the American flag behind them. I'm like, oh, my goodness.
You could get more America. You know? 1985, man. That was right in the time for me, you know. And it's so cool because, you know, again, this was the Cannon Group. And, you know, Jay Chataway did the music, which just, you know, was an American flag waving in your ears. It's all about ex-CIA agent Matt Hunter, who is brought out of retirement when a Soviet-led group want to come in and basically take over the U.S. Got a lot of Red Dawn feel to it. And he lives out in the bayou, in the swamps of the Everglades. and doesn't want anything to do with it. But he has a history with Richard Lynch's character, Rostov, and Rostov comes to kill him. But he ends up killing his friend instead, and that's it. All bets are off. So Hunter comes in and just plays an amazing game of always being in the right spot at the right time. Of course, you've got the bomb that they're doing in the Christmas shopping, which was just such a great scene. The guy leaves the bomb in a bag and a good Samaritan.
Sir.
You left your bag, sir. You left your bag.
Sir, your bag.
And they're driving through the mall. Great scene. So there's one scene in particular. It's kind of a throwaway scene, but he's driving around town when the National Guard are setting up roadblocks. And do you remember him driving around the city in his truck?
Yeah.
Okay. So at one point, he turns down a road and the road is blocked. The truck kind of stops in front of the street sign. And so then he backs his truck up and does a 180, stops behind the sign, and then drives off. You know the name of that road?
I don't remember.
Walker Road. And I took a couple of pictures of it because I was like, I can't be seeing this, So I don't know if that was just total coincidence or if that was kind of a nod to what was coming. So that this movie was actually supposed to be the first in a series of films.
Really?
With Matt Hunter. Yeah. They were going to be doing, I think they were doing a 3-movie, but they hadn't signed him on it. And so they came to him after this movie to do the next one. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I've done enough with that character. I want to move on and do something else. Because he was putting a lot of movies out around this time. I mean, he was
cranking them out.
He was cranking them out. So they came to him and said, you don't want to do it. So he passed on it. And then they turned around and hired, I can't remember who they hired. But they went ahead and they filmed the follow-up to it, but with a different actor. So,
Was it still a Matt Hunter movie?
It was still Matt Hunter, yes.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Should have written that down. Did you catch the scene when right before he's captured, he's sitting in the hotel room watching TV? Did you notice the movie that was on?
I don't remember what it was. It's been a while.
Earth versus the Flying Saucers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was cool. Great film. So that's your number 2, huh?
That is. And that great quote from this movie, I'll hit you with so many rights, you'll be begging for a left.
If you come back in here, I'm going to hit you with so many rights, you're going to beg for a left. Oh, yeah.
Hey, I thought there was a really interesting scene in here where the terrorists pull up into a residential area.
Right. At Christmas time.
And they start shooting all the houses with rocket launchers and blowing them up. Well, did you read about that?
No.
Those were actual houses, and they were really blowing them up.
Really?
Yeah, it said that this airport had bought this whole community, bought all the houses. Everybody had moved out, and they were getting ready to bulldoze the houses down to extend the runway of the airport. So they let the film crews come in and blow them up.
Wow.
Yeah. So they just happened to luck out and find a whole neighborhood that was ready for demolition.
That is cool. No, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
Yeah. There's so many cool things about this movie. I mean, I know that I'd heard a story that Chuck Norris wanted Whoopi Goldberg
I heard
to
that
be
too.
in it because she had been an extra in A Force of One.
Right. But they said she was going to be in it, but she signed on for Color Purple.
Right. Well, she had actually, you're right. She was already cast in Color Purple, and the director said, no, Chuck, we're not going to hire her right now, which was just stupid. I mean, and then I read that Chuck said, I never worked with that director again. Some guy, Joseph Zito. He did, he did The Prowler, a horror movie in 1981, and he did Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter in 1984. And then after this, he did, you remember Red Scorpion?
Oh, yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, it was in 1988. Yeah, but Chuck said, no, I will not work with you again. Good movie. All right, well, so that's your number 2, and we've already touched on my number 2, which is Silent Rage.
That didn't come out right, man.
Yeah.
Nobody touched your number 2. It's
you
still
touched
there.
my number 2. So I love this movie. Okay. Obviously not as much as I love number 1, but I love this movie, and I will watch it, at least once a year. I think it takes elements of different things and puts them together in such a way that shouldn't work, but they do. I mean, this is part horror movie, part action film. Stephen Furst brings part comedy to it. It's got a little bit of a love story to it. It's just a great film. I really enjoy it. And I have to say, on this last rewatch, I want to say it's his best acting of all of his films, which I know is weird to say because it's not my number one movie. But I think that the way that he and Stephen Furst played off of each other, it felt like they were friends. And for all the times that I've ever watched this movie, I just love the part where they're riding along in a truck and Charlie says,
"You know something, Sheriff? I did something real bad that I didn't put on my application to become a deputy, and I just felt guilty about it, and I just wanted to tell you. When I was about 6 years old, my mama bought me this little white dog, and I played with it the first day, and I got it, like, real dirty. So I was scared, so I wanted to wash it, so I put it in the toilet, and I was, washing it with baby powder and everything, and it got all messed up, and I figured, I gotta dry this little pooch off, So I didn't want to put it in the dryer because, I thought it would get hurt, rolling around in that thing. And so I put it in the deep freeze that my mother had out in the garage. And I went out and played and had a good old time, and I forgot about it. And later on that day, my mama went into the freezer to get a pot roast out. And there was that poor old dog, frozen solid. I guess he was trying to bark or something because, he had his mouth open just like that. Never saw that dog again."
Well, Charlie, I'm sure that won't go on your record. I'm sure everything will be all right.
Oh, God.
Don't worry about it.
I sure am glad. I just wanted to get it off my chest.
Okay.
You remember that story? Yeah. That's the story about getting the dog dirty and everything.
Right.
That was actually an ad lib that Stephen Furst had brought. And I just loved the way that you see Chuck Norris, the look on his face. He's just like, oh, wow, what the hell is this guy talking about? But the only thing I think that I didn't like, and then again reading later, was his love scene. And it was the only time I think I've ever seen him do that. Of course, he gets into the shower in A Force of One, I think. But this one, it kind of seemed a little awkward. And then I read later on that, a bunch of his fans had come up to him after this movie and said, yeah, we really didn't like it. And he took it to heart, and he never did another love scene. But this is just such a great movie. The girlfriend, Toni Collette, I'm not sure and I'm sorry that I butchered it, played Angie Bonpensiero on The Sopranos later on. And another of my favorite films, Hot Fuzz, when they're going through looking at DVDs, he picks up a copy of Silent Rage and he reads like the blurb on it from the back. So great film. Anyway, great film. Lots of good actors. Definitely recommend it for a good watch. You can actually watch it on Tubi TV for free. Couldn't find it anywhere else. I had a VHS copy, but it's dead now, so I'll probably have to buy it. Have you seen the retro VHS packaging that you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
All right, well, I think if we're all finished with that one, that we are now at your number one. And I'm going to make a Kreskin here and say that we have the same number one. And if we don't, I'm going to be amazed.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, interesting. So go ahead with your favorite Chuck Norris movie.
All right. My favorite Chuck Norris movie is from 1983. Is that yours?
Yes, it is.
This is the ultimate Chuck Norris movie. Best Chuck Norris movie ever made.
It is.
This movie put Chuck Norris on the map for me.
It cemented him for sure.
It did.
Yeah.
And look, before I say what it is, I want to tell you, in 1983, I can remember my parents, we were all over at some friend's house, so some of their friends' house, and I was bored to death, okay? And I asked my mom, I said, if I could talk my brother into take him to Lake Charles. We lived in Kinder. Take him into the theater. Can we go see a movie? And she said, well, you got to do this. This is, yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I opened the paper, And you know how back then they had the movie section with all the miniature posters and everything? And dude, there was this 1/6 of the page poster that had Chuck Norris with this beard. He was dirty, gritty. He had on a bandana.
Red bandana.
A red bandana, and he was holding, it looked like a sawed-off shotgun or something.
Uh-huh.
And it had the title. Just the title sounded like the best movie in the world.
Yep.
Lone Wolf McQuade.
That's it, baby. J.J. McQuade, Texas Ranger.
We gotta go see this movie. So we did, and my life was changed, brother. It was changed.
I'm with you, man. I am so with you. That is my number one as well.
Chuck Norris was my man from then on, you know.
When you're the best, you do things with style. J.J. McQuade is the best. He's a lone wolf lawman in the Lone Star State.
Your record is unrivaled, but my kind of ranger is a model citizen, pillar in the community, goes to church, he lives clean, he's got a loving wife and kids. Your lone wolf attitude is going to change.
Even a wolf has his weaknesses. And a powerful enemy. But even the best can't always do it alone.
Running up the nose!
Something to remember you by. Ranger, meet your new partner.
It's going to be an honor working with you, Ranger McQuade.
I think you know Agent Jackson.
Looks like somebody doesn't like you, McQuade.
I make a few enemies here and there.
Yeah? So do I.
So now the wolf has a wolf pack. The final showdown belongs to McQuade. Lone Wolf McQuade, starring Chuck Norris, David Carradine, Barbara Carrera, and Leon Isaac Kennedy.
Oh, man.
Everything that guy would put out, I would go see it from then on. I mean, I was sold on Chuck Norris.
I mean, you know, it had everything in it. It was, well, let me rephrase that. It didn't have everything because it had a little bit of comedy in it, but it had so much in this movie. I mean, hell, starting off, of course, Chuck Norris, you know, is so awesome. I mean, he's going up against David Carradine. Are you kidding me?
Kung Fu, yeah.
Kung Fu himself, you know? And then you've got, Bond girl, right. Barbara Carrera. Right. And then
she's also in Condor Man.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Condor Man, which I saw you just changed your Facebook to. Yeah, great movie. R.G. Armstrong as the captain who you just can't please. L.Q. Jones.
L.Q. Jones, man.
So awesome.
His best friend and retired Texas Ranger, you know.
And one of my favorite performances, William Sanderson as Snow.
Right.
He was great. Oh, man, that scene where he's handcuffed to that wagon wheel and he's got those Coke bottle glasses on. And, man, that wasn't just glass. That was you, because when you're looking at it, his whole, eyes are distorted.
They're heisting guns everywhere. All they can get.
What are they going to do with all that hardware? I said, what are they going to do with all that hardware?
They fly them off to Mexico, to Central America, to terrorists and stuff. All over the place. I don't know. They gotta kill my son, man! God damn it! Please.
And of course, you got to talk about Robert Beltran.
That's what I was going to say. You also had Robert Beltran here.
As K.O. Ramos. You know,
from Star Trek Voyager and also Night of the Comet.
Yep. Played a little too much of the comic relief for me. I rewatched this over the weekend. I'm sorry, last week when I was on vacation. And he just, I actually made a figure of him in this, by the way, a custom action figure, and I got it signed. I'll have to dig it up and show you one day. But almost every scene he's in, you kind of think after he finishes talking, you would hear the wah, wah. Like when he gets saved at the beginning, he's like kissing Chuck Norris's butt.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you. You were great.
Okay, kid. Okay. Go cut your buddies loose. Go on.
Bye.
And scene after scene, he's leaving him in the desert. But I don't want to distract from it because it is my favorite Chuck Norris movie too. So I've got some cool trivia, but I want to hear some of your thoughts about the movie first.
Yeah, one of the coolest parts is the opening of the film where they start revealing Lone Wolf McQuade just little pieces at a time. You see the back of his head. You see the rifle. You see him loading it. You see him, looking through the scope. You know that this guy's up there, and he's about to start raining hell down on these bad guys in that valley or wherever they were.
Yeah.
But you don't know it's Chuck Norris yet. I mean, you figure it's him, but they never show his face until it's time,
Mm-hmm.
And then they show his face, and then you're like, oh man,
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome the way they present him very slowly like that.
It is. It's too cool how he's looking through the scope, but he's only looking through the scope. He's not looking through the gun at that point.
Yeah.
And then he takes it and he puts it on, and it's just, he's so badass. And I didn't want to say it earlier, but this one is also directed by Steve Carter, who also did An Eye for an Eye.
Yeah.
And Big Bad Mama and The Arena. Man, he knew how to film Chuck Norris.
Mm-hmm.
I can't agree with you more. That whole scene when he stands up and they use a MAC-10 to kind of like spray bullets below him, and he takes one shot with the rifle and knocks the guy, kills the guy.
You knew it was going to be an awesome movie, man, just from the start like that.
The first 15 seconds of that movie, you knew you were in for something that you hadn't seen in a while because of the way that they played the music. I have my notes here from when I rewatched it, because when I watch them, I'll just like throw random thoughts out. I was like, holy hell, this is like another fistful of dollars.
Yeah. It was like one of those Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns all over again.
It really was. As a matter of fact,
had that feel to it.
It did. The guy who did the music was actually another Italian composer that they brought in to do it. And I remember looking him up, and I couldn't see any other movies that I was familiar with. But God, that guy, the music on here was so. And then you've got his name. Okay, here it is. His name was Francesco De Masi, and it was so inspired by Ennio Morricone's, who we just lost, his score from like Once Upon a Time in the West. Yeah. And those spaghetti movies, it was so well done, and you've got so many different locations that this is filmed in. And of course, we talk about one-liners. This movie has got so many great one-liners. The first off, my favorite by a long shot, is when J.J. McQuade and Dakota are at the track, and you see Barbara Carrera show up for the first time, and Q says,
"Hey, how'd you like to bite that in the butt, develop lockjaw, and be dragged to death?"
Who is she?
Clark Richardson's widow.
Oh man, that's such a good one. This was another movie that was supposed to be an R rating, and he went back to them. And they actually dropped the F-bomb a couple of times. But anyway, he was able to get a PG out of it, though it would be a PG-13 now. Yeah. But such a great movie. Okay, so and we can't talk about this movie without talking about his Dodge Ram Charger with the supercharger and blinky buttons, My God.
And lots of cans of beer in it.
Lots of cans of beer. That scene where he is buried alive in the truck and uses it to get out. Oh, crap, that was so good. Oh man, it was so good. So did you also know that Norris and Carradine refused to use stunt doubles for that big scene, that big fight scene?
The big fight scene, yeah.
I think they say it took 4 days to film, and by the time they were done, they weren't fighting each other. It was two old men fighting for their breath. But man, they did such a good job. I love the fights that they do have. Though that one's, the only one with the two of them. But like when he's at the party and his little cronies try to start to beat up KO and he has to step in, and man, he's just kicking their butt left and right. Such a good movie. And you've got some cool guest stars that are in it too. Dana Kimmel, who plays the daughter Sally. I want to say she was like in one of the Friday the 13th, like maybe part 3.
Let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
When Walker Texas Ranger was announced coming to TV, did you, like me, did you think this was Lone Wolf McQuade, the series?
Well, from what I understood and read is that they wanted this to be McQuade Texas Ranger.
Yeah,
but
I wanted it to be that.
yeah. And I want to say that there was, I don't know, maybe CBS sued them or they sued CBS or something like that because it was so close to it. Yeah,
but it wasn't nearly. I liked Walker, but it wasn't nearly the gritty Lone Wolf that we were used to and liked.
Yeah, it was. It was a Lone Wolf McQuade light because of course, you had to bring in the buddy cop, and it's a great show, but it was a little too soft. Yeah. And I want to say that that's probably why they didn't go as hard as they did. It's because you couldn't keep that up. Couldn't be the Lone Wolf. But yet, then again, in Expendables, what was it, 2 or 3?
Right.
He shows up for an amazing Kimmy. Yeah.
And they call him, Lone Wolf.
Yeah, that was a great scene. Yeah, an all-around favorite Chuck Norris movie. Well, man, I knew it. I just knew we were going to both have number 1 of Lone Wolf McQuade. I mean, it is by far I think, the best movie he's ever done. And I know I haven't seen some of the other things, and I purposely didn't put into the mix the movies where he was just like a cameo, like we couldn't go without talking about Dodgeball, the true underdog story, where he plays himself. There are some what would call forgettable roles like Top Dog.
And he did that Forest Warrior.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
I didn't get a chance to rewatch Hellbound, and I say rewatch because I don't really remember it, but I know it was pretty much almost a straight-on horror film.
Yeah.
And then he was in that movie where he played himself with Sidekicks.
Sidekicks, yeah, I remember that one with Jonathan Brandis.
Yep, Jonathan Brandis, the one who would later on was Sequest. Yeah. He died like really young, like
I think it was suicide.
Yeah, I think you're right. I want to say I remember reading that. It sucks so bad, But yeah,
have you ever met Chuck Norris?
I have not, but Tina bought me a copy of his autobiography.
Okay, well, I met him when he put the autobiography out. I was living, in Dallas, and he did a book signing at a bookstore there, and I took my daughter and her mom there, and my daughter was like 2. And we waited in line a couple of hours to get up to him. And that was the first celebrity my daughter ever met.
Was that in 2004?
I don't remember.
Okay.
It had to be in the early 2000s. But he looked up at her and he shook her he grabbed her little fist and he shook it and he said, "Hello, sweetness."
Oh.
And he was asking me how old she was and stuff. But man, very nice guy. Very nice.
Yeah, he seems like the real deal.
Yeah, so he signed the book, and I still have it, and that's the only time I've actually met him. I noticed now in his older years he's starting to go to conventions.
Yeah,
I would love to go and get like an 8x10 or something signed.
Oh my God, I would go and get a poster signed.
Yeah.
I would.
Invasion USA.
Oh, you're right. I mean, as much as I love the poster for Lone Wolf McQuade, that's one of the things about that movie that was so influential to me was his shirts, those double-breasted cowboy shirts that he had.
Yeah.
I actually went oh God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I actually went to a country western store and they ordered me that same color tan double-breasted shirt that he had. And I wore the crap out of that shirt. I'd wear it buttoned up on both sides, unbuttoned on one side. And then right at the same time was, the year before was Wrath of Khan. And
oh yeah. Had that flap open. Yeah.
Oh my God, I got to find a picture of that because I know I have that somewhere. Oh God, I love this movie.
You're such a lone wolf.
I'm such a lone wolf. And I'll tell you one other cool thing is my grandfather on my dad's side, he was named James Ray as well. He was both an Alexandria police officer and a state trooper for about, I think, 26 years. But anyway, after he retired, my cousin Rand, who lived in Texas, or who still lives in Texas, did whatever he needed to do and got Papa an honorary Texas Ranger. And he had this amazing, and it has that Chuck Norris, I know it's the Texas Ranger badge, but it's the Chuck Norris badge, and his name on it. And I was always like, wait a minute, that's my name. I could get that one day. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought you finished. The Walker series coming out, the reboot of Walker Texas Ranger.
No, I hadn't heard about that.
Really?
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's already shot and everything. It's going to be premiered in the fall.
Is it coming on broadcast TV?
Well, let me tell you this. It was called Walker Texas Ranger, but all the racism stuff going on in the world right now and in the country. And do you know how they've been taken down? Like they took down the Texas Ranger statue out of the Dallas airport. Yeah, there's starting to be a bad stigma about Texas Rangers. Apparently, they were very violent and racist back in the early days, in the Western days and stuff, and through the 40s and stuff. So there was talk about the CW. This new Walker Texas Rangers on CW.
Yeah, with Jared Padalecki.
Yeah. They were going to cancel it because of all this stuff going on right now, and they're wanting to get rid of all the Texas Ranger statues and all that. But instead of canceling it, they dropped the name Texas Ranger, and it's just going to be called Walker now.
Okay.
But
is he still a Texas Ranger?
I mean, they already shot it. He's a Texas Ranger.
No, I had not heard about that, but sure enough, doing some instant lookup, here it is. There's a picture of him.
Yeah, it's the guy, Palaka, whatever his name is, from... what's this show?
Padalecki from Supernatural.
Supernatural,
yeah, on the CW. Well, I'm going to have to give that a watch.
I know about a year and a half ago when they released his name as playing Walker, I was thinking, what? Come on, man, that guy? How is he going to be Walker? Chuck Norris. But I'm sure it's going to be. Walker was more of a family-friendly type show with the Chuck Norris series.
Yeah,
I'm hoping they go more grittier with this one.
Yeah, well,
I imagine they would.
The thing that we have to remember is we see these characters because, God, I don't know, 14, 15 seasons that they did. It's hard to see that person outside of it because we know him, from that. But I got two words for you. Michael Keaton.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody would thought Mr. Mom would be Batman.
Exactly, So I've kind of changed it. So now I give him a lot more rope, I should say, before I start going off on it. So I'm going to be interested to see this. CW. That'll be very cool. Wow. Home of McQuaid. What a guy. What a guy. Well, man, this has been a lot of fun. I kind of thought I thought we would at least have a couple of crossovers, but we actually not too many, So out of 12, I think we only did 3. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad. So before we end the show, is there anything that you'd like to let the podcast universe know that's going on?
Well, in the Chuck Norris world, I did see a picture of him the other day wearing an age. I mean, you can see all the man. He's not supposed to age. He's Chuck Norris, But
but he is 80 years old. 13 grandkids.
So I guess I remember all those gyms that he sold, the commercials for the Total Gym, the Chuck Norris Total Gym. Oh, dude, okay. I just had a thought I want to mention. Do you remember he had a pair of blue jeans that he was
the kick jeans.
Endorsing. Yeah, they were stretchy jeans. Like you could do high kicks and stuff wearing your blue jeans. I remember those.
Yeah, I remember that. As a matter of fact, I saw a picture of that just the other day as I was going through stuff. Yeah, I can't remember. Did you know he had a video game for the Commodore 64 and Atari 2600? No. Yeah, it was called Chuck Norris Super Kicks. Huh. And then, of course, he had his own comic series.
He had a cartoon, the Karate Commandos.
Right. And I actually have one of those signed, not by him, but by a couple of the people. And then he had action figures, too.
Yeah, they had an animated cartoon, you know?
Right.
Besides the comic book, yeah.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, I remember the action figures. They were pretty cool.
Yeah, I need to get
and he had a little sports car with that line, too.
Uh-huh. I think you're right. Well, cool. Well, great. Well, listen, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's absolutely been a blast.
Anytime, Lone Wolf.
And I'd like to thank all of you out there in the podcast universe for joining us for another episode of Fave Five From Fans. We love putting out this show, and we'll continue to release episodes every Friday. You can find us on the Acadiana Open Channels podcast network at aocinc.org. Look for Fave Five From Fans under the podcasts. Or you can subscribe to the show via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podbean. And really anywhere you can catch a podcast. Please remember to review and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen so that more people can hear about the show and we can continue to grow. We'd also love it if you'd interact with us on Twitter at Fave 5 From Fans, or on our shiny new website, www.fave5fromfans.com, on our Facebook page, and on the gram, as the kids say. We here at Fave 5 From Fans are excited to be a part of the Slightly Irregular Podcast Network. You can find us at sipnet.us or on Instagram. The SIP Network is a varied group of podcasters like Terrible Terror Podcast, the podcast from another world, Dead Hand Radio, the Paranormal Activity Podcast, Angry Dad Podcast, Back in Time Podcast, From the Wastes, and us, Fave 5 From Fans. And remember, folks, it may not be the best, it may not be the most popular, but if it's your favorite, then it's good enough for us. Patrick, say good night.
Good night.
You can say anything you want to. You don't have to say good night.
Anything you want to. Hey, it's been a blast, man. I'm glad you had me on here.
Me too, man. I really enjoyed it. This is Hulk Boy from Hollywood signing off.
Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, man of action. Chuck Norris stars in Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. Chuck Norris, he's got nerves of steel and strength to match. Chuck Norris with his team, Pepper.
It's too dangerous, Chuck. Wow.
Too much.
Too much.
Kimo, the samurai warrior. Reed, Chuck's teenage apprentice. Tabe, a sumo champion. With Chuck Norris, they battle the sinister forces of the Claw.
Remember this.
And the ruthless Super Ninja.
I'll finish Norris.
Chuck Norris stars in Chuck Norris Karate Commandos.